What is up YouTube? For today's video I have Angwatt CS1. The scooter has been sent to me by Banggood.com and on the day of recording it retails for around 600 euros. The scooter takes a bit of effort to handle in tight quarters, which on the other hand translates into very stable ride at a full speed. So the scooter is very stable to ride with one hand, which is nice if you want to show turning signals or whatever, film and hold the camera as I'm doing right now. The handlebars are very stiff, hard to steer, so that avoids all the wobbling even on the higher speeds. And as the handlebars are not loose, it's nearly impossible to drive the scooter without hands. I can't even let the handlebars go for a second, because even if I lean the scooter, the handlebars are not turning themselves. One other thing you probably have noticed is that the clearance between the deck and the ground is huge because of these large tires and so on. So when you ride the scooter, your center of gravity is actually quite high off the ground. And if you are a not that experienced electrical scooter rider, it might feel a bit awkward to turn it, to corner, to put it into the corners, and sometimes I hear people call it unstable. I completely disagree. The scooter is super stable. I'm super comfortable going full speed and I have full control of Angwatt CS1, but you have to get used to the higher center of gravity, especially when you're riding it in slow speeds and doing tight turns. It's not very simple. Do this, it doesn't start. I think because the tires are large and the scooter is big and heavy, the motor is struggling with acceleration just at the very beginning of when you start moving. I'll now jump on the scooter and press full throttle. The battery is fully charged, and just see how slow it takes off when you just start from zero. The acceleration of Angwatt CS1 is not great. Stop, full throttle. So we stop and we go. And we don't go anywhere, are we? Nope. As you can see for yourself, the scooter absolutely failed the climb test. And even with the initial speed, we're not gonna make it to the top. Nope. Generally, the build quality of Angwatt CS1 looks okay. First of all, in the manual, the manufacturer claims that you have to check all the screws. I did check every single one of them. The brakes were not loose, the wheels were not loose, the handlebars were not loose, everything was fine. However, the 4 or 8 out of these 8 screws here on the frame, a couple of screws were a little bit loose, not completely loose, but they could have been tightened. All the cables right here are just attached to the scooter with the zip ties, and they are not cut evenly. Grips are probably some of the cheapest ones, and definitely some of the cheapest ones. Brake handles, they are not very smooth when you operate the brakes. So when I try to do wheelies and I need to be very sharp on the rear brake, it's not that simple to do, and sometimes I can't stop the scooter in time before it turns over and I have to jump down. And one more thing, the LCD display, the screen is not glass, it's actually like plexiglass, and it's very easy to scratch it, especially when you use the NFC Lock card. It scratches with that card. At the same time, the suspension works well, the scooter folding mechanism is pretty good, the lights actually produce some lights in the dark and so on, so there is nothing dramatic about the build quality. The only rattling part is this hook which you use for folding, but that can be easily fixed by applying bumper sticker from furniture. That will definitely reduce the rattling noise. And if you're curious, yes, the folding mechanism survives the bunny hops and is still sturdy after doing that. So all in all, build quality 3 stars out of 5.
5, 7,
Angwatt CS1 comes with adjustable double swing arm suspension in the back and also in the front, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'm not only talking about this nice bright yellow accent or the aggressive looks, I'm talking about the performance of the suspension. It will make your ride much safer because it will absorb all the bumps on the road, and it will also let you drop down bigger curbs without any problems whatsoever. So when you think that the scooter has great suspension, and when you look at those insanely thick off-road tires, you might easily be mistaken thinking that the scooter can be fantastic for off-road. Right, I have one little problem with the concept of the scooter. So these fantastic, huge off-road tires and the off-road look might trick you into thinking that this is an off-road scooter. But now just take a look. I'm gonna help it a bit to get it going. I get it going, we have full throttle, and that's all the speed that we have. Well, this is why it's not a great off-roader. It's not powerful enough with one motor. There is nothing so dramatic. Look, there is nothing so dramatic about this terrain. It's because such a chunky motor and my body weight on the scooter. We can't propel ourselves, we are stuck. You need two motors for off-road scooters. Of course, if you only plan to ride on like gravel roads and occasionally need to cross a softer path, if you can build the initial speed up, you can beat through softer sand and similar terrain, then the scooter should be completely fine for you. Otherwise, you actually need to consider something with two motors instead.
2, 5, 7, 1.
On my YouTube channel, I do range test always in the maximum speed mode, and I try to ride full throttle as much as possible whenever it's feasible. And I also try to go off-road, on-road, in the city, out of town, in order to mix the riding conditions and see how many kilometers can I do. Alright, so the maximum speed of the scooter is now falling, and I got error 5, which is not described in the manual, but basically it has to be related with the low battery voltage. It's at 39.7 actually volts, and we can't go faster than around 20 kilometers per hour. And we've done 34 kilometers right now. Inside this massive metal deck lives 21.3 amp hour 48 volt battery pack that will have pretty much 35 kilometers range if you go full throttle and you weigh around 90 kilos and you ride the scooter in around 5 to 10 degrees Celsius.
2, 5, 7.
It's 44 on the dashboard. Unless I got some help from going downhill or a little bit of wind in my back, I couldn't pass 42 km per hour speed mark.
1, 2, 4, 7.
The scooter comes with NFC cards to lock and unlock your scooter. You press the on button, you touch the screen, and the screen unlocks. And when you want to lock your scooter, you just put the NFC card next to the screen and then it locks. One thing I absolutely love is the beeping signals, turn signal indicators. So when I turn it on, there is an indicator right here that says I put it to the right side, and it's also beeping. This is what you see from behind, and this is what you see from the front, which is nothing. Even though these tires pick up a lot of water and dirt and sand from the road, when you ride the scooter, you will not get your pants and shoes too much dirty. There is some mud coming on your feet, but it's definitely not too much. Let's take a lot of water, full speed, and see if any of the water gets splashed from the rear wheel onto the deck. That's 20 kilometers per hour. There is some water splashing on the deck. That's 23. Now if we go 31, on the edges a little bit. Well, this is 72. The scooter has this brake at the front and this brake at the back, and the brakes are okay-ish. I would say they're a little bit on the edge with the weight of the scooter and the speeds it can reach, but if you're not planning to further make it faster or anything like that, the brakes should work just fine. For whatever the reason, scooter comes out of the factory with way too long rear disc brake cable, which can actually get stuck in your disc, so you rather clip it off before anything wrong happens.
1, 2, 4, 7.
Time for the final conclusions. Angwatt CS1. The scooter costs 600 euros, and for that price you get this fantastic off-roader look. Don't be deceived by the look. It is not a real off-roader because it has one kilowatt motor that's not powerful enough to propel you up the steep hills or into soft terrains. However, it's sufficient enough to drive you at more than 40 kilometers per hour speed, and if you're a lighter rider, maybe up to 50 or 55 kilometers per hour. At the same time, the scooter has huge battery pack that will allow you to ride for 35, 45, 50 kilometers depending on your body weight, your speed and your riding conditions. And the build quality, it's fine. It's not something, you know, out of the outer space that we have never seen before, but it's also nothing dramatic, nothing is falling apart, nothing is breaking off the scooter, so it's a pretty decent build quality. You can't ignore that this off-road look looks pretty nice, and at the same time it will allow a rider occasionally to go off the road because the scooter is not afraid of going into gravel roads, rougher terrain, grass, as the tires will grip really well and the suspension will do the fantastic job by both keeping you comfortable and safe while you steer at the higher speeds. The scooter has enough of deck space, good fenders to cover you from all the mud and water being splashed on you, and generally I really enjoyed riding it during this video. I do hope that you also enjoyed watching it. If you want to buy the scooter, there will be links in the description below to the banggood.com website, and I hope I can also get some discount code for you. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below, and I really hope to see you in my next videos.